Hey Amber,
Hey,
how you doing, girl?
good. How are you?
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Well, thank you so much for joining and taking the time to, share your story and, to really give back. I mean, that's why we're all here tonight is, to share our experiences, give a little insight to what it's like to go through triple negative breast cancer, and really raise some funds and make a difference in this fight against triple negative breast cancer. I was kind of introducing you before you joined, but everybody, this is Amber here, and she is from Little
Hi.
Rock, Arkansas. And I told them a secret. I said, she's not actually from Little Rock. She's from somewhere that I can't pronounce. What's the name of the place that you're from?
It's Maumelle,
Maumelle.
Maumelle, Arkansas.
Yeah, see, and she was like, it's spelling it for me, and I'm like, what? Is it close to something?
Right, I know. I
That's
know.
cool. So I kind of gave a little bit of a background on how they found that I had triple negative breast cancer.
hmm
What's your story? How did they find that you had breast cancer?
Well, it was February of last year, 2016. I woke up one morning and I went to I was in the bathroom and I felt a lump. So I went to work and I had scheduled a mammogram and my boss came in. She ultrasounded me and we thought it was just a cyst because it felt cystatic.
So you
And
worked
so
you worked at a
I
hospital, or
worked I worked for a cardiovascular surgeon.
gotcha? Okay.
And so I canceled my mammogram. And so then I had an appointment with my OBGYN. And I told him, I said, don't worry about it. It's just a cyst. You're going to feel something. And she felt it. She's like, no, I don't think so. I'm going to send you on over. So the next week I went and it had to be probably about March 16th, I think it was, of 2016.
Right.
Went and got a mammogram, wasn't worried at all. They did an ultrasound, and I'm even telling them, don't worry, it's just a cyst.
Right.
And so
Right.
the radiologist comes back in and he said, that's not a cyst at all. It's actually, it's a mass and you've got two of them. And I'm
Wow.
like, okay. Of course, and by then, the tears start flowing. I'm like, then he was 5. I'm like, I've got a 5-year-old little boy. And thinking, how do you know? Why are you being so negative? You haven't even biopsied it. How are you telling me basically I have cancer before you've been biopsying? So they ended up doing a biopsy on March the 18th. And it was the director of Baptist Hospital who ended up doing it. And so I asked her, I said, what do you think about this? And she said, I looked at your films from 2012 and they were okay. She said, but I looked at your films from a couple days ago and she goes, let me tell you something, Amber, I'm worried. So
Yikes.
right then I knew. And I got the call on the 21st of March and they told me that it was um I had breast cancer, basically.
Did
So
they tell you at that time that it was triple negative breast cancer?
no, no, I had to wait for all my stuff to come back. And by then I
The
had already
waiting
been,
part is like the worst.
it really is. And, of course, that's working for a doctor. He called his friend and they got me into UAMS here in Little Rock right away. And so, the day before I went, I had gotten my results back that said I was negative for everything. And I'm thinking, yes, isn't that wonderful? So I bring my paperwork and stuff to UAMS and I'm talking to my oncologist and he said, you're triple negative. And I said, I know, isn't that great? He goes, actually, it's the no,
Yeah,
no.
you're thinking negative, like
Right.
you were negative, you were test negative
Yes.
for a lot of bad stuff, but it was actually
Right.
opposite almost.
Yeah. And I said, oh, no, what does this mean? He goes, it means it grows very fast. And by then, it was a 5.1, my tumor was. And so I had to get all these other tests done. By the time I started chemo, it had grown to a 5.9 in a week. So,
Wow,
yeah.
gosh,
And
that's
then
so scary.
finally, after all the measurements and stuff, we found out it was actually ended up getting up to like a 7 centimeters.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah,
And you did opt to have a double mastectomy, right?
I did. Mhm.
And I guess they said all the margins were clear and everything was good.
Everything was good. They took out, my lymph nodes were negative. Everything was negative, so that was good. And then so we ended up going through opting for chemo first before the surgery because it was growing so fast.
And when we were
So,
talking earlier, you mentioned that you took Taxol and something different other than what everybody else that we're going to be talking to tonight. Oh yeah, that's good. 7 centimeters. That really? It's that
yes.
big?
Yep.
7 centimeters? Like that
Mhm.
big?
Yep. That's
Wow,
what on
that's
all
that
my
big,
paperwork,
folks.
everything. Yep.
Um,
So they were really
let me
surprised
look
that
at
it
that.
hadn't grown outside. So, but yes, I had taken carboplatin. I'm
And
sorry,
that's the
Taxol.
yeah, that's the
Yeah,
different one. Like most of the people we were talking about earlier is it's Taxol, adriamycin, and Cytoxin, but you did Taxol and Parab.
Taxol,
Uh-huh.
carboplatin together, and then I did adriamycin and Cytoxin,
Right. Wow.
and I
So
did it every Friday.
tell me something. Yeah, I don't know if you were like me, but it sounds like you were. When they told you triple negative, you didn't know what that was, and then they instantly tell you that it's bad. What did you do at that point? Did you start researching? I mean, how did that affect you emotionally?
I did start researching because I thought I didn't realize that there was different types of breast cancer. I thought
Right.
breast cancer is breast cancer.
That's the same
Um,
here. Yeah.
yeah, so I just started, and then when I found out only 15 to 20% of breast cancer is triple negative, and so I did research, and then I started reading blogs, and it freaked me out. I mean, I finally ended up meeting up with one lady who had it, and she made me feel a little bit better. Um, but I mean, I was scared because nobody in my family has breast cancer. So I mean, it freaked me out. Especially I have a husband who has two girls, and then we have a 5-year-old, or now 6. But I mean, that's all I could think about was I've got to fight this.
Right.
I mean, that was that was my fight. Was my family. I mean, my husband and my kids and my parents. That's all I could do. I
Yeah.
mean, and I mean, I'm lucky because I live in a wonderful community. So everybody came together, and I know people that are just going through this, and it's so hard. I'm like trying to be positive. You want to be positive towards people,
Right.
but you don't realize until you go through it that you go through heck. I mean,
Yeah.
you are at your lowest.
Yep.
When everybody's telling you you're so strong, deep inside, you're feeling like, am I really?
Yeah. Like almost like you have to put on a face for everybody else because
Hmm.
uh, I remember one thing that I thought of was it's like you don't want to let on how affected you are by it because they're so affected as well. And if you show that you're really upset, then they're going to get even more freaked out. So you kind of have to
Oh,
put on this face and just kind of go through
hmm.
it.
Oh,
But
it is.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
you
go
were
ahead.
diagnosed in March of last year, and how
Hmm.
soon after that did you start the chemotherapy?
Let's see. Everything went so fast. I was supposed to start. So March 21st, I was diagnosed. I had, I think, lymph nodes taken out on the let me see. No, that was on a Monday. So on the 21st, the 24th, I want to say I had lymph nodes taken out. So I was supposed to start chemo. I met with my oncologist on the 30th. I was supposed to start on April 1st.
Right.
I ended up in the hospital because my immune system was so compromised, and my port I got a superficial clot in it. So I ended up in the hospital.
Oh
So
gosh.
I started on April the 8th.
Gotcha.
So
Wow. Well, what would you say? Like, I think it's fun. It's not funny, but everybody who goes through breast cancer, I've found that there is some kind of weird one-off thing that happens. That superficial clot that you were just talking about sounds like it was
mhm.
probably yours. For me, when they put my port in, they punctured my lung, and so I was in the hospital for a while on that. What do you think? Was that the worst moment? Was that superficial clot, or what did you feel that the worst part of going through triple negative breast cancer was for you?
I would have to say the worst part was I was in the hospital. I ended up in the hospital once a month through the whole process. And I mean, being away from my family and my son, and him telling my mom, I don't have a family anymore. My mom is always in the hospital. My daddy's at work, because he's a police officer. I think being in the hospital because my immune system was so low. Not only that, I mean, I'm also, I had my aortic valve repaired in 2006. So we already knew going in that my immune system was so low.
Right.
So I would have to say being in the hospital every single month. If something was going to happen, it happened to me. I mean, that's all I could say.
I know that feeling. I'm kind of graceful.
Yeah, that was the worst, though.
Well,
I mean,
I found that going through breast cancer also changed me in some good ways. What do you think? Like, what would you say to somebody if they asked you, what was like the best thing that you got from going through breast cancer?
it humbled me. The best thing I got was, it made me a stronger person, and meeting all kinds of different people and realizing how precious life is.
Right.
Really. I mean, I thank God every day that I'm here and that I'm going to be able to watch my son grow up. And I would just say it made me a better person, I feel. I mean, it made me want to reach out and help other people.
Well, and that's what you're doing tonight too. I mean, it takes a lot of courage and strength to come on here and tell such a personal story.
Right.
And it sounds like that you really want to make a difference, and you want to help the next person that might have to go through this. And of course, our ultimate goal here is to make it where no one has to go through it, right?
Oh, exactly.
that'd be like the best part. So I just wanted to remind everybody that's watching the broadcast right now, this is a fundraiser where we do have a goal of raising $3,000 tonight. We have a lot of wonderful guests tonight sharing their story. Strong and courageous women like Amber here. And you can go to that link across the bottom of the screen here, breastcancercanstickit.org/TNBC, and there's multiple ways for you to contribute to the broadcast tonight and help us reach that goal. So please do share this out to your friends and family, and let's see what we can do to make a difference in the fight against triple negative breast cancer. Amber, you want to give a shout out to anybody while you're here?
Shout out to my husband. Thank you for everything. To my parents. Just to all my friends. I mean, I'm just blessed. Thank you to you for doing this, I don't know.
Well, thank you.
I'm just,
Yeah, girl, thank you so much. It's a real blessing to meet you and get to do this. I hope you'll come back next year and every year to come. I was just going to, get to know you better and just sharing your story. It just means a lot to me personally, and I know everybody watching. So thank you so much for joining.
Well,
We're going to probably grab an update on see how our finances are going, but I hope you'll hang out in the chat room and people can chat with you. And guys, watch for Amber in the chat room and be sure to ask her a question or tell her how much of a rock star she is for being here today. So y'all give it up for Amber. Thank you, Amber.
Well, thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you so much, man.